Andrew, this is 5% incline for you and 13 kilometers speed. So we'll just run the video through. I've slowed you down just to go through the key points. First points we're going to look at is heel lift and leg cycle and how we have changed from before. So if we look at where we were before, we had our left heel coming below the knee crease where that little line is. Then we've got the knee crease here. And then we had the right foot was coming a little bit higher. It was a fraction underneath the knee crease where we're looking to aim towards. So it's just on the cusp of it, and we can see that just here. So that one was higher. Now, in terms of how that affected your leg cycle, before, just see where it hits those points. So where it affected your leg cycle before, you were in contact with the ground sooner because your leg cycle, the toe off phase, the last point where the point where the toe starts to leave the ground, was further away from your body. So if we just put it into this context here of this oval shape, just line it up with your heels. You're just going to need to move it slightly back because of the toe off was away from your body. We'll just see there we go. So the right's always going to be slightly above, the left is slightly lower. So as soon as that left one comes in, it's coming back in contact with the ground very quickly. And that's where we get that break in force and that pressure through the ankle, shin splints, through the knee and lower back as well. And you can just see that foot is reaching out ahead of the circle as well. So it's just landing slightly quarter in, if a little bit less than that, as it comes through that position. So if we look at where we are after, first of all, our heel position, absolutely bang on, really phenomenal. It's up to that right side, up to glute level. So we're wielding a short lever as you come through, and that helps with your foot placement as well. And then we've got that left foot. There's not much in it. It's pretty much symmetrical, really, via a few millimeters, but it's nicely high in that position. So by wielding a short lever, you've got hardly any braking forces going through your running technique because it's coming through as a short lever. Your flight time has increased because you're not spending as much time on the ground. And that all comes down to the fact that you're toeing off, which I mentioned just earlier. That toe off phase is closest to your body. So you'll notice now that the circle has had to be moved. So it's more in line to the central part of your body because your running action, your technique is a very tight and controlled all in one. So the foot is not reaching out and you are literally cycling up and drawing that circle that we worked on during the sessions. You can see that foot is landing nicely inside that circle. So really amazing progress on that. Really impressed with what you've done with the leg cycle and the heel lift. And that is making that leg cycle highly efficient, which is going to have great gains going forward. By wielding that short lever, so they see that knee flexing afterwards, you're recruiting those glutes and those hamstrings. So in terms of flight time, if I just pause it here, you can see how much that is increased. And that's that arm drive coming, but I'll go on to that later. That flight time there, as you're coming into the next cycle of legs, is absolutely brilliant. Whereas before, your flight time was lower to the ground, there, and you were lower to the ground. You were not as tall posturally, and you were contacting a lot sooner. So we had more interaction with the ground, whereas now we've got next to none, and your running style was looking effortless. So in terms of foot placement, before we had, when that foot made contact with the ground, we had that gap between the knee, which indicated we were reaching a little bit further ahead of our centre of gravity, which was going to put those braking forces in. So that was the left side I've just put in there. And then we had the right, which was less. And we've got that just in there. So that's where we were before. When we were running. So if we look at it now afterwards, you've got an absolutely bang on foot placement. I mean, just look at that on that left hand side, in terms of your shin position, placing your foot nicely at that perpendicular 90-degree angle we spoke about in the sessions, in relation to your hip. Okay, there. That is textbook in terms of what we're looking for. Absolutely phenomenal. You're in a nice, tall running posture. Also, really impressed with your knee. We talked about soft knee a lot of the time, so we're not excessively bending. That is a really good position on that knee point, and there is no gap between the knee, which tells us we've eliminated that overstride. If we look at the right hand side, it's really consistent, and again we've got soft knee coming in to that point. You've got the shin being placed perpendicular to the ground, okay, into that position there. So that is really, really good placement. And again, just look at how you are posturally. There's no leaning forward. We're nice and tall as we're running. So we've got a very good upper body position as well. And again, there's no gap between the knee on that right hand side. If we just show that, so that tells us that the overstride has been eliminated. And if you just watch now, if I take these lines out, if we just take a moment to have a look at where you are after, as soon as that foot makes contact, it's leaving the ground. So you're leaving those heels nicely behind you in your running style. So really impressive. If we now take a look at our arms, if we look at before on the left, we can see before that chest was opening up. So it's from there, that logo is really coming round. And the arms before were at an angle, but they weren't really contributing from the shoulder in terms of the action. So it was twisting the upper body. And if we look at the thumb as well, before slightly raised as we were running. Now, if we look at after, we can see the drive of the elbow. So the elbow is looking to drive backwards. We can physically see that shoulder moving in terms of the action. And we're also going nicely hip. So checking our change. And we've got a good image here of that right side just coming up in line with shoulder. So that backward drive of the elbow is now driving us forward. Also, your angle of the arm is in a very good position. So we've got that 60 degrees as we're running as well. So very happy with the arm drive and the improvement you've got from that. And you can just see your chest is just facing forwards. There is no twisting from the upper body at all, and you're consistently going hip to shoulder, hip to shoulder. Just remember, if you feel you want to quicken your cadence up, you need to move your arms shorter and faster, and the opposite. If you feel we're going too fast, just go longer and slower. But really impressive, Andrew. I'm going to do a second video of you from the back.